Hi, Hallie here. Thank you for jumping in on Hallies Creations. I hope you enjoy this next share. And without any further ado, let's do this. Don't forget to subscribe and notify, or you won't miss out on any more videos. The first video we're going to do here is the blue frame that is so easy to do. One reason why it's super easy is because you're using spray paint, but you can do the chalk paint if you'd like to, or whatever. But I wanted to walk you through this, kind of give you a step-by-step. So here I'm showing you the glitter paint along with the blue paint. This is a frame I picked up while I was out doing my yard selling. So, and then here I'm showing you your flowers. Flowers were picked up mostly from Michael's. I did probably have a few that were from the Dollar Tree or whatever. So here I'm just showing you that I spray painted it. Then I am going to walk you through and show you how to embellish it and put the wire on and the knobs and such. So the first thing you want to do, is measure off your knobs. So lay them out the way you want. Mark them with a marker in the front of the frame. Don't do the back, because you're going to drill from the front of the frame. So here we're just measuring it. Also, I'm pointing out too, when you're drilling, you're using any type of safety tools, please use safety gear and drill from the front. So we're drilling from the front with our goggles on. And I have that laying over the table for I'm not drilling into the wood of my table as well. Don't want to do that. So stay away from the corners of your frame as well, because the way the frames are put together, they will split and crack if you go all the way to the edge. Sometimes you want to get more bang for your buck and you want to put it all in there, but trust me, you don't want to do that. Bring them in, stay away from the corners, that way they're nice and sturdy and you have a quality product. So now we're putting the screws in from the back. One of the things you'll notice too is that I have the screws going in pretty tight, because I learning curve from before, and you'll see this on the last frame that we're going to share on this particular share. I know my hair is getting in my eyes. Forgive me for one moment here while I fix that, and then we're going to get back on track. I need to get it trimmed, but it is what it is. Anyway, so we're drilling this from the back side, and as we're drilling that, we're going to make sure they're nice and snug. Then we're going to put the knobs on the front. Pretty easy peasy. One of the things that happens when you buy your knobs is you want to make sure your screws are not too long. If they are too long, you're either one, going to have to cut them down, two, put a washer in, or replace the screws with the proper sizing screws. You can get your screws at any hardware store. Hobby Lobby does not have screws and stuff like that. But Home Depot as well as Amazon online, you just measure them, make sure they're going to go through the thick of the wood, and they're going to screw down on the knob. So we're just going to put these on. And the reason I did the knobs first on this was because I could. No. Because I know I'm going to lay it over and those knobs are going to hang off the edge of my work table, so I'm not going to have it wonky while I'm putting my wire on the back. You may want to put your wire on first. The only thing with that is when you do put your wire on first, you may have the spots where you want your screws to go through. That wire may be in the way and you'll have to clip that out to make space for your screw. And you'll see that on one of the frames coming up. Each frame on this share is unique and different, but pretty similar in the ways you assemble them. But there are different learning curves that I've had along the way, and I'm just passing that on to you. So here the knobs are on. We're laying it where they're hanging over the edge, and now we're going to put the wire on. Notice I have gloves on. I'm going, gloves, where are your gloves? I learned from the past that, yeah, I do like to touch and feel everything that I make, but it's really not to my best interest in my hands to cut them all up. Wire is not forgiving at all, and it will just chew your hands up while you're working with it. So go out and get yourself a pair of garden gloves or working gloves, something that you can kind of feel things as you're working with them, and put that in that you have going forward when you're working with wire and different things like that. Be safe. So here we're just trimming the wire down nice and close to the edge. We measured it already to match up the back of the frame. When you're matching it up to the back of the frame, you want to make sure that it's going like to the center of the frame, about 1/2 inch to 1/8 inch in from the outside of the frame. Reason for that is you want it to be sturdy and taut when you staple it down. So we're just going to smooth this out. I'm pulling Tina out here to watch out for those edges. Also, just clean up your edges. That's what I do. I just go through and I clean up my edges. And then one of the little tricks that I've learned to do is I put a little seam of glue around the entire edge of the back of the frame. That covers up those rough edges, as well as kind of just keeps it from scratching up the back of your wall. You can put pads on as well. Totally works. That's what I've done in the past as well. But I've learned through the learning curve that just running a seam of glue around the back of that works perfect. Perfect. So here now we are going to put the frame on. Here we're going to make sure it's all lined up right, trim it down to make sure it fits perfect, and then we're going to staple this to the back. Little trick here, cutting board that I use this on in my art studio, but this is actually just a kitchen cutting board, so you can get this from your, in fact I think I got this from Wally's World. I got this from Walmart, so you can pick them up anywhere. It's just a nice plastic sturdy cutting board. You don't have 3 or 4 hands, so that's your extra set of hands when you're working in your workstation and stuff. It holds it in place while you trim it all down, and it flattens it out for you. It flattens it out for you. So, and then here we're going through and we're stapling this down with a flathead staple gun. If your husband's into appliance installations and he has the round ones, you can use that. Those are what you use for like water lines and stuff like that. But the flathead is better because it's going to lay flat against your frame. So better to have the flathead. And these staple guns are not that expensive at all. They're under $10, I think. So at least last time when I bought them, they weren't that expensive, and it's a good tool to invest in. You don't have to buy extra staples because they give you plenty when you buy it. So yeah. Any hardware store, Amazon. As I'm saying that, I do have a profile page on Amazon where I have a list of all the different supplies that I pick up through Amazon, because I do like to do that. I'm not a big go out to the store, go shopping type gal. I like to have stuff brought to me and kind of stay in my little bubble. But with that in mind, you can go on, and it's down in the link, my Amazon profile page. There's no affiliated links or anything. It's just, you know, your supply list where you have it. So there's the frame finished, and we're going to embellish it now. The client that I created this for, that I made this for, wanted it embellished as well. So here's what I told you earlier about just running a seam of that glue along the edges of your wire, just to finish off that, for you don't have those rough wires hanging out and scratching up the wall, or even scratching you up when you're moving it and things like that. So there's that. So now we're going to put the flowers on. Now the flowers, what I did here is I lightly dusted it with the spray paint that matches the frame. So you want to hold it away. You don't want it right up on it. You want to hold it away, give it a quick spritz, and that's going to give you that color match for your florals. Just a reminder too, if you're enjoying what you're watching, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. If you're watching this on Facebook, don't forget to like and follow. And then on Facebook too as well, if you go on there on Hallies Creations and check that out and like and follow, I can send you an invitation to join my private group for fellow artists that we share different ideals and stuff with. So yeah, you can do that. And then I can send you a little invite. So here we're just laying out, bouncing back to the frame. Here we're just laying out the different flowers. We're not putting them down until we've actually saw how they are. And now we're going to commit. We're going to staple them down and glue them down. The reason when you can staple them, you want to do that just to give it a little bit more secure, to last longevity. And then the glue just to put your embellishments and everything on there as well. I use just regular glue, gun glue for the most part. I do use the Gorilla Glue as well because it's a little sturdier. But glue is going to melt if you're going to put it outside in the heat, so don't do that. You want to make sure it's stapled. So, and then trim it all down. You'll notice too here I'm using really nice heavy duty cutters. I'm not using my scissors. The florals will tear up your scissors, so invest in a nice cutter, like wire cutters, and have those in your supplies as well. Hardware store, pretty much Homes, Lowe's, anywheres. And they're about $10 as well to $15, depending on which ones you get. And that's pretty much it for this particular share. So I'm going to let you go and I'm going to bounce back for the next share. So there it is, completed. I absolutely love this frame, and it's like I shared, spray painted it, picked up the frame at a yard sale. As I do that, little like, ooh, check it out, I just finished this frame. But now we're going to jump on to the next one. This is a rockabilly frame that I made for another client, another friend. My clients turn into friends. Don't have a lot of clients, but I do make things custom when somebody asks me, for the most part. So this is a frame I had on hand. I absolutely love it. I painted it black again. I took it out, spray painted it, and then I actually painted over it as well to give it like an opalescent type effect with emerald greens, blacks, and some lavenders and purples, just to blend it and bring it all together. So here I'm just showing you the frame and how it looks after it's painted. And now we're going to jump on here, show you again what I just did with the blue frame. The wire meshing, what kind you want to get. Now you can get different ones depending on what floats your boat and what you like. But you can pick that up, hardware store. Amazon even sells it, I believe. Amazon sells everything. And then from there, you're just going to put your frame together just like you did the blue frame that we just talked about. Now on these particular shares, I want to remind you that supplies you can pick up off my Amazon profile page. There's a list. There's also most of these items that I do use are from Hobby Lobby, Michael's, the Dollar Tree, and I love my Mod Podge. A lot of stuff I sell with Mod Podge. So that's where you can find most of your items. And the florals I pick up after the holidays. So Christmas, they'll have like 80, 70, 80, sometimes 90% off. And what I do is I buy the colors that I know are going to be generic that I can use throughout the whole year. So that's how I roll. So just a little, check that out. About 2 weeks after the holidays is when they really start blowing things out. So here what we're doing is we're jumping back to the frame now. We are mixing some colors together. This one here I'm using again, as I shared, the purple, the emerald green, and the black. We're going to do a whitewash on it, a water wash on it, not a whitewash. Thin it out with water, and then we're just going to apply that on there and let it dry. Once we apply it on and we let it dry, I do like to seal my stuff with like a wax seal or something, just for it sealed before I go forward when I'm doing acrylic paints, such as the ones down there that I'm doing. So that's what we're doing here. I'll jump back in a few moments and we'll walk you through a little bit more. So for you that are looking at what is she doing now, I had some antiquing dust that I wanted to play with, so I figured why not. So we're putting some antiquing powder on that after it's dried, of course, and we're just brushing that in, and it really did work kind of cool. It toned it down and made it look a little old and antique-y, so that was kind of fun. The brush I'm using is a makeup brush, if you can believe that, from the Dollar Tree. So for $1.25, at least right now that's what it is, you can pick up one of those little brushes, and I picked up a couple of them and just brush that on there nice and loose. Once that's all done, then we're going to jump over. We're going to start finishing it up with the metal mesh, the frame, the wire, and then we're going to decorate this too. Again, this is the rockabilly theme. That's what she wanted. That's why I have those old antique crosses, and you can actually find those. They're on the supply list as well. And yeah, make sure you get your edges and everything when you're doing. Don't just do the front, do the edges and the back side as well, for it looks nice and clean and professional. So again, we're going to measure from the front, as I shared on the other picture frame, and drill our holes. Get the drill and drill the holes and staple it down. I do want to remind you that this is a collective share. Yes, it is. Obviously, right? These are, it is. But these are a collective share of different videos that I've already done, and they're already on my channel. I knew I could get that thought. So anyway, on my channel, I have all these different playlists. I have DIY, jewelry, florals, bouquets, Christmas, Mod Podge, Dollar Tree, painting, glass painting, the list goes on. So for the different things that I do, I have different playlists. So if you wanted to see the actual first video of this without me doing the voiceover and doing it as a collective video, you can jump over there and do that. Also, I encourage you while you're watching this, if there is one that you're interested in making, just jump over to it. That's fine. Yeah, that's what they're there for. So now we're just going to switch gears here. And I'm showing you the knobs, and we're just going to put those on. Ta-da! As I do that, ta-da! So the knobs will go on, we'll do our wiring, and we'll be good to go. Reason again, want to reiterate, measure from the front. That way you know right where they're going to go, because a lot of the frames have some special little, engraving and such on it. So you always want to check your placements before you drill the holes. What do I always say? Measure twice, drill or cut once. Twice, once. Twice, once. So that's what we're doing here. Also, when you're doing your drilling, you're going to see this in another share coming up as well. I'm going to remind you, take your drill bit, take your screw for your knobbies, match them up. You want them to match. You want a nice tight, you don't want it sloppy and loose. So here we go, what I'm showing you. Match them up as close as you can, because when you drill it down, it matches up the screw. Then when you put the screw in, it's going to snug up. If you make it bigger, it's going to be wonky, and it's not going to lay as nice. You don't want that. You don't want to put all that work and then have floppy, sloppy knobs. Again, a little trick too is if the knobs are too long, you can always put a washer or two on the back side of it, and that will taut and tighten it up as well. So remember, you're wearing your protective gear. You can't see if I am or not in this, but put your goggles on when you're drilling and stuff, because that stuff does fly up into your face. Clean it up, wipe it up, and you're good to go. Remember, when you're cutting your wire mesh, you do want to measure it to the back side of your frame. You want to make sure that you have plenty there to staple it down where it doesn't overlap though and look sloppy. You also want to trim that where you don't have those sharp edges. So trim each little one down. It's a little tedious, but be a job, big or small, do it right or not at all. Right? So here I'm just going through cleaning up the back of this frame, and then I'm also going to paint. You'll see down the line where I spray paint the back black to make it all nice and clean looking. Another little trick you can do, look at here, ta-da, I'm showing you here, clean up the back of your frame. Another little trick you can do though, if you want to frame your frame to match your wire, you can paint your wire as well, just spray paint it. The only reason I don't do that is it scratches after a while when you're putting the jewelry off and on and off and on. It's going to scratch up the paint on the wire mesh, and then it's going to look a little tacky. But if that's something you want to do, then go for it. So we're going to, I know I'm so mellow, just go for it. Drop these down, and then we're going to move on to the next section of this, and that will be embellishing it. Yeah. So I will be back after we put all these on. So here I'm showing you where you lay your wire down, and you don't want to staple it all the way close to the edge like we shared earlier. You want to make sure you have plenty of room where it's going to lay there and be stapled down and be sturdy, but at the same time you want to make sure that it's not hanging out sloppy over the edges. What I do is I staple a couple pieces, and then I go corner to corner, corner to corner, and I smooth it and make sure it's taut as I staple it down, and that way it lays nice. It's not all wonky and wobbly. And there you go, shows you how it's done. Take a little glue, run it around the edges, and just kind of make that secure. So now, because it's a rockabilly, I put on a chain. Of course, you could hang it with that little tiny hook on the back, but it's not going to be as secure, I don't think. Especially when you're taking things off and on, if you're really going to use it, off and on, off and on. So I put a little chain on there just to make it a little bit more rockabilly theme, and stapled that down, and then we're going to jump over and embellish it. So now it's time to embellish it. What I did is I laid everything out, and now I'm gluing it down and stapling it down and committing. And then this frame will be done. It's that easy. It's really not that hard. The biggest thing is paint your frame, wire your frame, put your knobs on, and put your little bling bling on. And the more you do, the easier it gets as well. So here is where I'm going to wiggle around here a little bit. Here I'm going to remind you as you're doing this, don't forget to smash that button and subscribe. Or if you're watching this on Facebook, like and follow. Help me grow my channel. And don't miss out on any more future shares. I am setting up my new studio, and that is going to be in the near future, more live shares coming your way. So if you want to see those live shares, you want to be part of that, like and follow or subscribe. So this frame here I actually kept. I made this frame for my studio. I absolutely love this frame. Picked it up again at a yard sale. Yeah, yard sale. Another place too where you can get really good frames and stuff like that is Goodwill or any thrift type store. They have a lot of good deals. And what's really cool about picking them up is a lot of times they'll have glass in it. And for those of you that follow me, you know I like to paint on glass and do the 2 to 3 to 4 dimensional paintings. And that's how I get my glass. I just buy the frames, I clean up the glass, I put the glass to the side, and I use them for these frames. So here, got an upcycle. So there's the frame after I whitewashed it. I can talk. I whitewashed the frame, and I'm going like this. I'm pointing to it here because I have my thing here, my other monitor, but it's down there. So anyway, I whitewashed this after it was all said and done. I absolutely love it, and I kept it. I ran some jute on it, and I also decorated some little clothespins to put on there, and it just works perfect for me. These knobs are, again, they're rose gold, and they're, again, on Amazon. And I do have them on my supply list if you like them. You can find them quite easily there. I do shop around for my knobs and my supplies and stuff. So when I turn you on to a place, it's like the best price I found. So here I'm reminding you to drill your holes right. We just talked about that in the other 2 shares. So just a reminder, drill your holes right. So anyway, yeah, that's it. We're going to finish this frame off. And this is really the same ideal as the other 2 frames, except for this frame you don't have to paint. If you find a frame that you like and you like the color of it, you're done. You don't have to paint it. Just use it. The reason I whitewash is I'm not a real gold girl. I like white. And those of you that follow me and you see my art and stuff, I like white. And so I did whitewash it because I kept it for me. So anyway, drill your holes from the front. Like I'm telling you here, I'm trying to remind you, drill your holes from the front. And don't drill close to the corners, because if you do, you can crack and split your wood. And listen to the wood as you're drilling, and you're going to get that little reminder on another share that I'm doing here. I want you to remember to do that, because otherwise it will crack and split. So always listen to the wood as you're drilling your holes. If you hear that little squeaky crack, reverse it, take it out, and then go back in. That means you didn't drill your hole, your pre-drill, as white as you should have. But that's okay. You just go it's like take the drill in and out, in and out, in and out until you get it where you want it. So anyway, so here we're doing the same thing. We're laying the wire down and we're going to staple it down, and same thing as the last 2 that we talked about. Reminding you to use your staple gun. And the thing to think about is, because this is a collection, so I have, I think, 6 different frames on this. And each one's different. So like as we're doing it, we're actually going in reverse of my learning curve. I put the ones that I learned first at the very end. And the ones that I really had the technique down at the front. So that's why we're kind of going this way. But that's okay. And also the one at the end. Those are different because there's actually a frame where I'm going to show you how to totally make the frame. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. But yeah. But it's okay. It's you want them all different. You want, you may not have a frame. You may have a couple pieces of wood that you want to make into a frame. So yeah. So there you go on that. So just remember, supplies come from mainly Michael's, Hobby Lobby. For me, that's what I have out here. Except for Michael's, I don't really have out here now because we moved. It's more Hobby Lobby. And then I used to teach at Michael's, so I used to get a lot of my supplies from Michael's, but I don't teach at Michael's anymore because the closest Michael's to us is over 100 miles away, and I'm not going to go there to teach. They can come to me. I have a studio now, so people want to learn, you can come to my studio. But I worked hard to get my little studio. So anyway, yeah. That's where you can get your supplies. And always get them after the holidays. That's when you get the best deals. Christmas, you can go out there, you can buy after the holidays a lot of red, gold, silver, blue, green, and white. You can use those going forward for the rest of the year. Red for Valentine's Day, 4th of July, green for St. Patty's Day. Blue is just pretty, so if blue is blue, you can use that also for 4th of July with the red. White is neutral, you can use that on anything. You can spray paint your white flowers to match whatever you want it to match. Remember, light dusting. You don't want to go like this on it. You want to hold it back, light dusting. And that's kind of what I do. Same thing with Valentine's. Valentine's a lot of red and white, so you can buy red and white flowers and things like that to use going forward throughout the year for like 4th of July and Christmas and stuff. So check out after the holidays. About 2 weeks after the holidays is when they really get crazy discounted. So here we're jumping back here to the frame. We're tightening up the knobs here and just making sure they're nice and snug. And that's pretty much it for this frame, because we've already talked about it on the other frame. So I do want to remind you again, if you just jumped on and you went to this and skipped the other two that we just did, that all of these video shares are on my playlist on my channel. So if you wanted just to look at one particular, or you want to see the original where I'm talking you through it as I'm doing it, like a live share, because a lot of these are live shares, just jump on my playlist and you'll be able to see it. So make it your own, give it new life. What you're doing is you're upcycling, and just have fun with it. There's no right or wrong way of making it your own. I'm showing you how to put the pads on, because when I first started making the frames, I did use the pads on the back, and they work quite well. I like the beaded glue better. It's not that it's less costly, because the pads do cost money. I just like it better because it's more durable and it lasts longer. Those pads can fall off in time. So this is a recap of just showing you how the frame turned out. Yes, a lot of that jewelry that you see on this frame and my different frames are jewelry that I have made on my channel or I have made. So if you want to learn how to make that, it's natural stones and crystals is what I use. I don't use plastic. I use like the glass and the natural stone and crystals, and it's more of the beaded type work. But they're fun to do and they're super easy. It's like I'm being silly again. gotta be silly once in a while. So anyway, yeah, so like all that jewelry there, for the most part I made. The earrings I did not make, but the necklaces and the bracelets and the anklets, yes I did. And you can learn how to make those too. Just check them out on my playlist. They're on the jewelry playlist. So here, this one here has a little story to it. This frame I hung on to for years because I absolutely loved the frame, and I had a picture that I was working on that I was going to work into that frame, but I had a client that fell in love with the style of things I did, so I fixed it for her. That's why it's purple. And this is where we're getting into a little bit more of first learning how to do learning curve things. But what I did here, because when we moved from Reno to Arizona, it got damaged. So I took it apart, put it back together, and I used wood putty. And then I sanded it down, and I did the L brackets to make it nice and sturdy. And it turned out really nice. And what I did on the corners where I did the wood putties, you'll see here where I'm sanding it down. So I sanded it down, smoothed it out, and then I embellished those corners so you can't even tell. And I painted it, yeah, duh, and I painted it. So, and that on this I did, because it was a silver frame, I did a washout paint technique. So what I did is I took the colors that I liked, gave them a little bit more pump, a little bit more volume, and a little bit darker, and then I washed them out. So, and washing them out simply means you're diluting it with water. So you're dipping the paintbrush into the water, thinning it out, and then put it onto your frame. Do your edges and do the back. Do your edges and do the back. So here we're just going to brush it and blend it and work that together. Always seal it up. Make sure when you paint with acrylics and stuff, you put a nice little seal on it. Now here I'm showing you how to put the wire on, and this gets a little scary because I'm not using gloves. And when you watch the original, you'll hear me say, oh yeah, I like to feel everything as I make it because I'm a TK person, which I am. But I cut my hands up so bad. It's like, don't do that. Put your gloves on. Wear gloves when you're working with wires, please. Or be very, very careful, which I was, but I still cut my hands up pretty good. So we're just gonna, it is what it is. So we're just gonna go through and we're gonna staple this all down. We're gonna cut it to fit. And here's where I learned that little learning curve about making sure that your knobs match up to your frame. Yeah, I had to put washers in here because the screws were a little bit too long. So, but that's okay because it did make it nice and tight and taut. So the screws will, the washers will tighten up your frame. Putting a nice pretty cord. I did something with it. No, I braided it. There we go. I braided it, and I took 3 cords because it's that Christian saying, like the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. A 3 cord is not easily broken. So I kind of follow that philosophy. It's like 3. I put 3 strings together. I braided it because then it's going to hold up and be more durable. So I did that and staple it to the back now, and I got kind of generous with the staples and trim it up, and then now we're going to embellish it. You'll also notice on this particular frame how I have the L brackets on it as well. I did the L brackets on the corners just to make it more secure and a better product. Something goes out the door, I stand behind it, and the last thing I want to do is have a client call me and say, "Oh, Hallie, I need this fix or that fix." And believe me, been there, done that, and I'm glad my clients do that because I'd rather come fix it, make it right, than to have them have a faulty product. So yeah, so make sure you sturdy it up and everything. Because I had fixed those corners, I wanted to make sure they were secured. I put L brackets on as well. So you can redeem and refurbish a broken frame. Something that you really love, just put a little wood putty in there, sand it down really good, put your little L brackets on, and you're good to go. So here again, I showed you how you drill from the front, you put your knobs on, and that's pretty much it. We're just going to embellish it, and we'll be done with this frame too. So I'm going to jump back here in a minute, and I also wanted to remind you too, always lay your designs out first. Don't glue them, don't start willy-nilly and putting stuff down. Lay it all out, take that little extra 5 minutes, lay it all out, look at it, make sure it's how you want it, and then commit and glue it all down and staple it. This frame here was fun, funky, and different. Just like my friend that I made it for. I picked this up at the Michaels. When they have their frames, they, like buy 1 frame, get 2 free, those special deals. And so I picked this frame up, and she loves black and red, and I made it how I felt would reflect her personality for her special little space in her home, in her room. So that's how come it has all the little bling bling on it, and it's those colors. So what I've done with this one is I measured the wire off before I took the plastic and everything off, because I figured, why not? I don't have to paint this frame. It's good to go, so let's not scratch it up. So I cut the wire down, as I'm showing, and when you're cutting your wire, use that flat edge part of the wire cutter when you're cutting close to get those edges. Then after I did that, we're going to unwrap the frame and get going with putting the wire on it as well as the knobs and such. Same technique. You're going to mark the front of your frame. You're not going to go too close to the corners. You're going to drill your holes from the front so you can put your screws in from the back and your knobs on the front. Staple that onto the back, and then we're going to bling bling it out. So I will be back when we start to bling bling it out. Okay, so now it's time to start bling blinging it out. I love Mod Podge. Mod Podge dries, everyone with me, clear. It dries clear. Unless you get the kind that is foggy, which is the matted, but the matted even dries for the most part clear. It's just got that flat surface looking on it. So what we're going to do here is just going to Mod Podge all these little bling blings on, and they're flat backs, and that's a key to know that if you're trying to put a round pearl on, it's going to just get bumped off. Use your flat back. So invest in, I mean, they last forever. I think I got a big thing like that at Michael's for like $10. I used the 50% off coupon, so I got them for $5, and I still am using them to this day. So get the flat back, and that way when you're putting them on your different projects that you're doing, they're going to stay on. Be generous with your Mod Podge. Don't worry about being sloppy with it, because it's going to dry what? Clear. It's going to dry clear. So it's okay. So now we're just going to put some glitter on there as well, just to make it bling and sparkle a little bit. And we're pretty much done with this. The knobs are from Amazon, and they're on my Amazon supply list, so they're easy to find. And what's really cool when you're doing your Amazon products is that you can put on there, find comparable products, and so you'll get the best deal. So I kind of like that. So anyway, we're just going to brush off the loose glitter after it dries. Yes, let it dry first. Let it dry overnight. And then come brush it up, clean it up, and then you're pretty much done. This one here, I didn't put flowers and a whole bunch of stuff on it because that's just not who my Chrissy is. And this is how it turned out. It's this really fun, simple black frame. And some bling bling on it with Mod Podge. Mod Podge dries clear, so you can just go for it with the braided satin ribbons on there to match. Done. This frame here, oy vey, I saved the best for last. This one here was the first one that I did, and to know me is to know go big or go home. This one here, I actually went down to the Home Depot, and the young man was so sweet. He cut me 4 pieces exactly how I wanted. I bought fence posts, you know, those cute little picket fence with the little funny ends on it, little pointed ends. And I had him cut them for me because I don't like blades, and I didn't want to ask my husband to do it. And he would have been a heartbeat, but I do not like blades at all. So he cut them down for me. And then this is what it's going to turn out like. So you're going to see how to put this together. So much fun. And all this jewelry and everything on it is my client's. This is from her bedroom. I went in there and took a picture of it after she had it all set up. She was super happy with it. And I was happy that she was happy. So what I did is I'm showing you here, sand all the surfaces. That way you don't get those splinters and stuff. Sand it with the grain. That way nice and smooth sand. And then we're going to paint it. And we're going to kind of jump on this one from one spot to another spot, but that's okay because you're going to learn the technique of it all. As soon as I'm done talking here. So on the regular video, this is me actually talking to you as I'm making this. And this was kind of fun because it was the first video I've ever done for the jewelry frames. So just remember to protect your eyes when you're sanding things down. I love power tools. They're so much fun, except for blades. I don't like blades. But I really do like my little sander. Makes everything nice and pretty and clean. So now we're just going to jump over here. We're going to put it together. See how it's all laid out to get a visual first? I wanted to see how it was going to look before I actually did it. So now I'm just showing you the different materials and how it looked before we got it going here. So now there's the young man that cut it all. He said, hi! I said, can I take a picture? So anyway, I went through and I painted it, and I did the washout like I did on the other ones to make it nice and for the grain would show through on the wood. I didn't want to make it all thick and gumpy. I wanted the wood grain to come out. So I used acrylic paint, thinned it out with water, let it dry, got to the texture I wanted. The little embellishments, I just went ahead and painted those ahead of time, and now we're just going to put together the frame. So here we have 2 small pieces, and then we have the 2 long pieces. You can make a frame with this technique any size you want. So it could be small, big, large, whatever. Small, medium, or large, whether they tall, grande, vente, or whatever. So what I did here is I did one part where I laid it right on top of the wood, and on the other part I have it bunted up to each other. And there's a reason for that, and you're going to see this as we lay it out here. I used the ends of the fence post just to make a little pop, and just to bring that all together because it was part of the wood. And now we're going to embellish it with the flowers and stuff, and most of these flowers are from either the Dollar Tree or Michael's, and the little embellishments. And what I want to encourage you to do, oh yeah, Joann's as well. I see a little pop up here. Joann's has flowers too, so if you grab that stuff after the holidays is really best time to get it. Joann's carries, if you can believe this, not just fabric, but they carry the flowers, they carry the jewelry, the things to make the jewelry and such, as well as your crafting supplies. They are a sister store for Michael's, if I remember right. I'm sorry, my eye itches. I have to scratch it. I don't want to stop recording. So anyway, getting back to what we're doing, we're gonna lay this all out, and then glue it down and staple it down according to what needs to be done, and then we're good to go. Now, you're not going to glue and do all that until after you put your wire on first. So that was learning curve. Put your wire on first, and then you're going to lay this all out. You notice how I don't have the wire on it yet? But that's it all laid out before we commit. And see how I have it lapping over the top? I wanted that dimension, and on the bottom I have it flat, and that's where the knobs are. So measure, make sure it's all squared. Get your little square, make sure it's all right, because you're going to use L brackets, and you're going to screw these together, and it's going to be nice and sturdy. So as we're measuring this off and everything, I will be back. So now we're putting the frame together, and what I'm showing you here is I'm measuring it to make sure it's nice and square and even. We don't just want it real wonky. And then I'm going to put the screws in, but one of the things that I shared earlier on is if you pre-drill it and then put the screws in, it's going to be a lot easier for you. On this one, this is the first frame I did. So yeah, that was a learning curve for me. I just put the screws in and had to put them in, back them out, put them in and back them out because the wood was really tight and I didn't want to split it. So anyway, you don't want to split your wood, so listen to it while you're putting your screws in, and you may want to pre-drill it first and then screw your screws down into it. You hear that little snap, crackle, pop? That means that the screw's going in really tight on your frame, and that's okay if you do it back and forth, but you just don't want to power through it and split your wood. So we don't want to do that. So anyway, showing you there, nice and secure, and then now we're going to jump on to the next part. Here I'm showing you how to do the L brackets, how I told you earlier we're going to bunt that up together and then put it together. So I use the L brackets to bring it all together. So that's what we're doing here, the little L brackets. They go on the corners, makes them nice and secure, and they're on the back side so no one's going to see them anyway. So I'm just going to screw those down and then we're going to jump on to the next part. And just listen to the wood as you're doing it because it will tell you if you're getting it too tight. You don't want, I cannot tell you more than enough times, you don't want to crack and split your wood after all that work. So now it's all together and we're going to put the wire on it and decorate it out. So we're going to jump forward to that section and then we'll be done. So now that you've got your wire stapled to the back of your frame and you're dropping down your screws for you to put your knobs on, your knobs are going to come out on the front of the wood. And on this particular frame, because you put it together, you know where your corners are and such, you can go all the way to the edge if you want because it's not an actual frame that's been put together corner to corner. You have it nice and secure and ready to go. So you can take your knobs all the way to the edge if you want to. So what we're going to do here is we're going to lay it all out again, make sure it's exactly where we want it, and then we're going to staple and glue the embellishments down to it and put your knobs on, and then basically you're done. It's that easy peasy. So as you finish watching this, putting it together, I'm going to jump to the very end, and there we go. Just glue it down. And I think too, I use the Gorilla glue sticks a lot of times when I'm doing the jewelry frames because it's a little bit more durable than the regular glue. You can use the regular glue sticks for sure you can, for sure. So now we have it all laid out. We're gluing it down. So I just want to remind you, you can check out my Amazon profile page. It's not an affiliated link. You can just go down there and click on it, and it shows you the different things that I use in my video shares. So that makes it easier to shop for. And remember too that I buy most of my items from Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Dollar Tree, and such, and even Wally's World, Walmart. But that's where you can get your supplies and stuff. Eventually I will have affiliated links, but at this time that's not my priority. That's not my main drive. I'm focusing on just creating great content for you and learning curve for all of that. So without going any further, I just want to remind you, don't forget to smash that button and ring that bell, subscribe, like and follow if you're watching this on Facebook, so you don't miss out on any future shares. Also on Facebook, if you like and follow, I can send you an invite to my private group for Hallies Creations creative group. And that's kind of fun because I post everything on Facebook there first, and then it comes out to Facebook. So that's pretty much it. We're going to put on the back of it another cord where it can hang off of a really pretty cord, staple that down. We have the really pretty knobs on there, and we've embellished it, and we've kind of brought it all together. And yeah, that's it. Pretty easy peasy. So I really hope you enjoyed all these different shares that I did on here. Be looking for new shares coming up and more collective videos that I'll be putting together on content that I've already created, but putting it all into one video for you to make it more easy peasy. And without really going any further, because we're done. We're done. I hope you have a good day and a better tomorrow, as my daddy would say. Peace out to my girls, and may the Lord bless you and keep you. Bye.